gonna have to give us a few minutes. But don't worry, there'll be plenty of room for everybody.
What if Steven Spielberg's War of the Worlds wasn't just a movie about alien invasion? What if the production hid secrets that could change everything you thought you knew about this 2005 masterpiece? Behind Tom Cruise's terrified performance and those towering tripods lies a web of classified military involvement, hidden symbolism, and production nightmares that nearly destroyed the film. Number 20. The military labeled the production a security threat.
A lightning strike in New Jersey has killed at least one person and injured more than a dozen others. It happened yesterday at an archery range in Jackson.
Here's something that'll blow your mind. The Pentagon actually investigated Spielberg's production as a potential security breach. When the director requested military consultation for the film's refugee scenes, Department of Defense officials discovered something alarming. The tripod designs created by Industrial Light and Magic bore striking similarities to classified drone warfare concepts being developed at the time. Internal Pentagon documents from 2004 show analysts flagged 16 specific design elements that matched experimental military projects. The resemblance wasn't coincidental. Spielberg had hired former DARPA engineers as technical consultants without realizing they'd incorporated real classified technology into the alien machines. The investigation lasted 3 months. Military officials demanded script changes and ordered ILM to modify the tripod legs' articulation systems. They particularly concerned themselves with the heat ray sequences because they mirrored actual directed energy weapons being tested. Spielberg later admitted in a rare interview that government oversight delayed production by 7 weeks and cost Paramount an additional $2.3 million in redesign work. Number 19. Tom Cruise performed his own psychological torture method. Tom Cruise took method acting to disturbing new levels for this role. To capture Ray Ferrier's escalating panic and psychological breakdown, Cruise developed what he called environmental sensory overload therapy. For 3 weeks before principal photography began, he subjected himself to increasingly traumatic audiovisual experiences. Each morning at 5 a.m., Cruise locked himself in a soundproof room equipped with surround sound speakers and strobe lights. He played recordings of actual disaster survivors describing their experiences, air raid sirens, screaming children, and explosions at deafening volumes while watching footage of real catastrophes. Production assistants monitored him through cameras, sometimes finding him genuinely crying or hyperventilating. Spielberg initially opposed this extreme preparation, worried about Cruise's mental health. But the actor insisted this self-imposed trauma would create authentic terror on screen. The most intense session occurred 5 days before filming the basement scene with Tim Robbins. Cruise spent 8 continuous hours in near-total darkness, listening to recordings of people describing their worst fears. When he emerged, crew members reported he looked genuinely traumatized and couldn't maintain eye contact for hours. Number 18. The tripod sounds were
Let's go! Back up! Back now! Get back!
recorded inside a real nuclear reactor. The iconic tripod foghorn sound wasn't created in any normal recording studio. Sound designer Ben Burtt traveled to a decommissioned nuclear power plant in upstate New York to capture the alien machine's terrifying call. Here's why this location mattered. Burtt needed something that sounded simultaneously mechanical, organic, and otherworldly. He discovered that nuclear cooling towers, when properly mic'd from inside, produced incredibly deep sub-bass frequencies that human ears couldn't fully process, but bodies could feel. Burtt spent 4 days suspended inside the reactor's cooling tower, recording various metallic resonances and echoes. He combined these with modified recordings of Indonesian gamelan instruments played backwards at half speed. But here's the really weird part. When Spielberg first heard the completed sound design during test screenings, 7 audience members reported feeling physically nauseous. Medical consultants later explained that certain frequencies in Burtt's tripod horn hit infrasound ranges below 20 Hz, which can trigger feelings of anxiety and physical discomfort in humans. Spielberg had to remix the sound 3 times, removing the most extreme low frequencies. The final version you hear in theaters is actually 40% less intense than Bert's original recordings. Number 17. Dakota Fanning genuinely didn't know about 9/11.
Look, all the way fast.
Dakota Fanning was only 10 years old during filming, and Spielberg made a controversial decision about her preparation. He deliberately never explained the September 11th terrorist attacks to her before or during production. The director wanted her terror and confusion to be absolutely authentic, untainted by real-world tragedy awareness. Spielberg instructed her parents, acting coaches, and everyone on set to avoid any discussion of terrorism, 9/11, or real disasters around Dakota. Instead, he told her the movie was about giant robots that nobody understood attacking cities for unknown reasons. This created genuine confusion in Dakota's performance. Watch her eyes carefully during the highway scene or when witnessing the crashed airplane. That bewilderment isn't acting. She literally didn't comprehend what metaphor she was performing. Child psychologists on set expressed concerns about this approach, arguing that sheltering her from contemporary events while making her recreate trauma seemed ethically questionable. Dakota's parents reportedly had heated discussions with Spielberg about this decision. Years later, in a 2015 interview, Fanning revealed she didn't fully understand the film's 9/11 allegory until she was 15 years old and watched it again with an adult perspective. Number 16. Steven Spielberg filmed scenes at actual 9/11 sites without permission.
Yeah, look at that reflection.
Hold the back! Hold on! Oh God, we're tipping.
Grab the rail!
Get up!
Water's coming
Life
in!
jacket!
Spielberg secretly filmed several scenes at locations directly connected to the September 11 attacks, and he did it without proper authorization. The sequence where ash-covered refugees stumble through destroyed New York streets wasn't shot on a studio backlot. It was filmed in Lower Manhattan within blocks of Ground Zero during early 2004. Spielberg used a guerrilla filmmaking approach, deploying small crews with handheld cameras that looked like documentary teams. Local residents and business owners didn't realize they were participating in a Hollywood blockbuster. Here's where it gets more controversial. The ferry terminal scenes showing panicked crowds were filmed at the actual Hoboken ferry terminal that evacuated hundreds of thousands on September 11th. Spielberg never obtained permits from the Port Authority for these shots. He argued that authentic locations would lend the film necessary emotional weight. When Paramount executives discovered what Spielberg had done, they immediately secured retroactive permissions and paid significant fees to avoid legal problems. Critics later accused Spielberg of exploiting 9/11 trauma for entertainment purposes. The director defended his choices, claiming the film served as a therapeutic processing of collective national trauma rather than exploitation. Number 15. The movie contains a hidden apocalyptic number code. War of the Worlds contains a deliberate numerical pattern that 99% of viewers never notice. Throughout the film, specific numbers appear repeatedly in seemingly random places: vehicle license plates, street addresses, clock times, and background signage. The numbers 6, 13, and 23 recur obsessively. Spielberg worked with a numerologist consultation to embed what he called apocalyptic coding throughout the production design. Every time you see a clock in the film, it shows times that reduce to these numbers: Ray's house number, the highway mile markers, even the tripod invasion timestamps follow this pattern. Here's why Spielberg did this. He wanted viewers to subconsciously feel increasing unease without understanding why. The human brain recognizes patterns even when conscious awareness doesn't register them. Production designer Rick Carter spent months ensuring these numbers appeared naturally throughout sets. The Jersey Street where Ray's house sits contains 23 visible addresses. The lightning strikes in the opening sequence occur in intervals of 6 and 13 seconds. Spielberg never publicly explained this decision, but editor Michael Kahn later revealed the director believed numerical patterns could create subliminal dread that enhanced the alien invasion's inexplicable nature. Number 14. Industrial light and magic accidentally created real military technology. Here's something truly bizarre that emerged from the production. While designing the tripod's articulated legs, ILM engineers developed a revolutionary hydraulic system that solved actual robotics problems the military had struggled with for years. The challenge was creating legs that could move naturally across uneven terrain while supporting massive weight. ILM's solution involved a unique combination of fluid dynamics and pressure distribution that nobody had successfully implemented before. When the Pentagon reviewed the film's visual effects for security clearance, their engineers immediately recognized the breakthrough. The leg articulation system displayed on screen actually worked in real physics simulations. Defense contractors contacted ILM requesting technical specifications, thinking the effects company had access to classified research. But ILM had independently developed this system purely for visual authenticity. Within 18 months of the film's release, Boston Dynamics incorporated similar principles into their Big Dog robotic platform. ILM engineer Pablo Hellman later confirmed that Paramount received licensing inquiries from 3 defense contractors wanting to use their fictional tripod mechanics in actual military robots. The studio reportedly earned over $600,000 licensing these fictional designs for real-world applications. Number 13. Tom Cruise insisted on doing the van crash that nearly killed him. Tom Cruise's obsession with performing his own stunts almost ended tragically during the highway van sequence. When Ray's stolen van gets hit and rolls multiple times before crashing, Cruise demanded to perform the entire stunt himself despite stunt coordinators' strong objections. Spielberg initially refused, but Cruise argued that using a stunt double would compromise the scene's emotional authenticity. After weeks of arguments, Spielberg reluctantly agreed under extraordinary safety conditions. Cruise trained for 3 weeks with professional stunt drivers, practicing the roll sequence in controlled environments. But here's what went wrong during filming. The van's roll was supposed to complete 4 rotations before stopping. However, the vehicle hit an unseen pothole that altered its trajectory. Instead of 4 rolls, it completed 6.5 with Cruise strapped inside, experiencing forces far beyond safety parameters. The van came within 8 feet of crashing into a concrete barrier at 43 miles per hour. When the van finally stopped, crew members rushed over to find Cruise unconscious for approximately 12 seconds. Paramedics on set immediately evaluated him. He'd sustained a mild concussion and whiplash. Spielberg shut down production for 4 days, absolutely furious. Cruise's insurance company threatened to pull coverage. Number 12. The basement scene was filmed in complete darkness for realism.
We're the resistance, Ray. They can't occupy this country. Occupations always fail. History's taught us that 1,000 times. This is our land.
Spielberg made a radical decision for the claustrophobic basement sequence. He insisted on filming in near-complete darkness with no artificial movie lighting whatsoever. The only illumination came from practical sources the characters would actually have: 1 flashlight, 1 lantern, and whatever ambient light filtered through the tiny basement windows. Cinematographer Janusz Kaminski initially resisted, arguing that modern audiences wouldn't tolerate such dark footage. Spielberg countered that authentic darkness would create unbearable tension. To achieve this, ILM developed specialized low-light digital cameras that could capture usable footage at light levels far below normal cinematography standards. The basement set was constructed inside a soundstage with absolutely no external light leaks. During filming, crew members wore night vision goggles to navigate. Tom Cruise and Tim Robbins performed their scenes essentially blind, relying entirely on spatial awareness and rehearsal memory. Spielberg directed from a monitor showing enhanced footage while the actual set remained pitch black. This created genuine disorientation in the actors' performances. Tim Robbins later admitted the experience was psychologically disturbing. He spent 8 consecutive days filming in near-total darkness, sometimes unable to see Cruise standing 3 feet away. The technique worked brilliantly, but tested screenings showed some viewers found the darkness literally unwatchable. Number 11. The crashed airplane scene used a real 737 fuselage. When Ray's neighborhood appears with a massive crashed commercial airliner crushing houses, Most viewers assumed sophisticated visual effects created the scene. Wrong. Spielberg purchased an actual decommissioned Boeing 737 fuselage from an aircraft salvage company in Arizona for $975,000. The plane had been retired from United Airlines service and was scheduled for scrap metal recycling. Spielberg's production designer, Rick Carter, had this massive fuselage transported in 17 pieces across the country to the filming location outside Newark. Reassembling it took 43 days and required specialized cranes and engineering consultation. Here's the really incredible part. Spielberg then deliberately destroyed 2 actual houses to position the plane authentically. The production purchased 2 condemned residential properties slated for demolition, then carefully demolished them in a way that made it appear the aircraft had crashed through them. The plane's tail section genuinely protruded through one house's roof. Its wing crushed another structure's second floor. Only minimal CGI enhanced the scene, mostly adding fire damage and debris. The entire practical effect cost over $2.8 million, far more than digital effects would have cost. But Spielberg insisted the weight and reality of metal and concrete would photograph in ways that CGI couldn't match. The fuselage remained on location for 5 months. Number 10. The tripod designs were stolen from H.G. Wells' personal sketches. Here's a secret that shocked the film industry. Industrial Light and Magic didn't create the tripod designs from scratch. They based them on actual sketches found in H.G. Wells' personal archives at the University of Illinois. In 2003, production designer Rick Carter traveled to the Rare Books Library where Wells' estate materials are preserved. Among his papers, Carter discovered 12 pages of hand-drawn mechanical designs Wells created around 1917. These sketches showed detailed tripod concepts Wells imagined but never published. The drawings included articulated legs, a central pod structure, and even primitive heat ray mechanisms. Wells apparently continued developing his Martian invasion technology for decades after publishing the original novel. Carter photographed these sketches and brought them to Spielberg and ILM. The team was stunned by how technically sophisticated Wells's designs were for someone writing in 1898. They incorporated approximately 70% of Wells's original concepts into the final tripod designs. The 3-legged structure, the sweeping searchlights, even the organic biomechanical aesthetic all came from Wells' personal sketches. The Wells estate had no idea these drawings existed in their archives. Paramount paid them $50,000 for design rights retroactively after the film's release. Number 9. Steven Spielberg banned all cell phones and digital devices from set. Spielberg implemented the most extreme anti-technology policy in modern Hollywood history during production. He completely banned cell phones, digital cameras, tablets, laptops, and any internet-connected devices from the entire set. Anyone caught with prohibited technology was immediately removed from production. Here's why Spielberg went to these radical lengths. He believed that modern technology's constant presence would undermine the film's themes about humanity's technological arrogance, causing their downfall. He wanted cast and crew to experience disconnection and isolation similar to the character's experience. Production assistants confiscated over 300 phones during the 5-month shoot. Spielberg enforced this rule without exception, even removing studio executives who brought phones to set visits. All communication happened through walkie-talkies and landlines. Script revisions were distributed as physical paper only. Behind the scenes, documentation used traditional film cameras exclusively. Tom Cruise initially resisted this policy, but eventually agreed after Spielberg threatened to recast the role. The ban created genuine tension and frustration among crew members who couldn't contact families during long shooting days. Several crew members quit because of this rule, but Spielberg maintained that the resulting atmosphere of disconnection and uncertainty bled into the production's psychological intensity. Modern crews still talk about this shoot as one of the most technologically primitive major productions of the digital era. Number 8. The red weed was genetically engineered real plants. The invasive red vegetation that spreads across Earth wasn't computer-generated. Spielberg hired botanists and genetic engineers to create actual living plants that matched H.G. Wells' descriptions. A team from UC Berkeley's plant biology department spent 8 months developing a hybrid plant species that could grow rapidly, displayed bright red coloration, and had the unsettling organic appearance Spielberg wanted. They combined genetics from kudzu, certain algae species, and modified ivy to create something genuinely alien-looking. The scientists produced over 15,000 individual plants for filming. These weren't painted or dyed. The red coloration came from natural pigmentation bred into the plants. Production designers cultivated massive fields of this vegetation at filming locations in California and New Jersey. Here's where things got problematic. After filming concluded, environmental protection agencies became concerned that these genetically modified plants might become invasive species if any specimens escaped into wild ecosystems. The EPA and Department of Agriculture ordered all redweed plants destroyed and all filming locations treated with specialized herbicides to ensure no genetic material survived. Paramount spent over $400,000 on complete eradication efforts. 3 botanists from the UC Berkeley team faced ethics investigations for creating potentially hazardous organisms. Today, no samples of the engineered redweed exist anywhere. Number 7. Tom Cruise and Dakota Fanning never actually met the other child actor.
Stop the car! There's carry 20 people in there! Stop the car! No! Stop the car!
Here's something that sounds impossible but absolutely happened. Tom Cruise and Dakota Fanning shot almost 0 scenes with Justin Chatwin, who played Robbie's son. Spielberg deliberately kept the 3 actors separated throughout production to maintain authentic family dysfunction. The opening scenes showing the whole family together were achieved through incredibly complex editing and digital compositing. Cruise and Chatwin filmed their confrontational scenes separately, with each actor performing against a stand-in. When you watch Ray arguing with Robbie, you're actually seeing 2 separate performances merged digitally. Spielberg believed that genuine tension between Cruise and Chatwin would feel forced if the actors built any real relationship. He wanted their on-screen hostility to feel genuinely uncomfortable. Dakota Fanning met Justin Chatwin exactly once, during the initial table read before filming began. After that, they never interacted again until the film's premiere. This created extremely challenging technical problems for editor Michael Kahn, who had to construct believable family dynamics from separately filmed performances. The breakfast table scene, where all 3 characters appear together, required 47 different shots composited together. Spielberg later admitted this approach was probably unnecessary and created enormous post-production complications, but he maintained that the resulting family dynamic felt authentically fractured in ways that conventional filming wouldn't have achieved. The actors only discovered this filming method years later. Number 6. The ferry disaster was filmed with real passengers who didn't know. Spielberg pulled off one of the most controversial guerrilla filmmaking stunts in Hollywood history for the ferry disaster sequence. He filmed portions of the scene aboard an actual working Staten Island ferry with real passengers who had no idea they were in a movie. During morning commute hours in March 2004, Spielberg positioned hidden cameras throughout one ferry vessel and hired 40 background actors to board as regular passengers. At a predetermined moment, these actors began performing panic sequences, screaming about attacks and rushing toward exits. Real passengers, thinking they were experiencing an actual emergency, responded with genuine terror. Hidden cameras captured their authentic reactions of fear and confusion. The incident lasted approximately 4 minutes before ferry security intervened, and crew members revealed it was a film production. Port Authority officials were absolutely furious when they discovered what Spielberg had done. He'd obtained filming permits but never disclosed his intention to stage a fake emergency with real civilians present. The stunt violated numerous safety regulations and psychological ethics guidelines. 15 passengers filed formal complaints. 3 claimed they suffered panic attacks requiring medical treatment. Paramount's legal team spent months settling potential lawsuits. Spielberg paid personal settlements to 7 passengers totaling over $300,000. Despite the controversy, he used the footage in the final film, Those terrified faces you see during the ferry panic are real people experiencing what they believed was genuine danger. Number 5. The movie's budget disappeared and nobody knows where. War of the Worlds has one of the strangest financial mysteries in Hollywood history. The production's official budget was $132 million, but financial auditors later discovered that actual expenditures totaled over $200 million, with $68 million completely unaccounted for in production records. Paramount executives launched an internal investigation in 2006 after noticing massive discrepancies between reported costs and actual spending. They discovered that millions in production funds had been moved through over 40 different accounts with vague descriptions like location services, technical consultation, and special materials acquisition. Nobody could trace where this money actually went. Spielberg's production company insisted all spending was legitimate but couldn't provide detailed documentation. The most bizarre element was that no obvious waste or fraud appeared in the finished film. The movie didn't look like it cost $200 million. Investigators suspected the missing funds were used for classified purposes, possibly payments to military consultants or government agencies for access to restricted information and locations. Another theory suggested Spielberg used hidden budget allocation to pay off potential lawsuits and complaints without creating public records. To this day, neither Paramount nor DreamWorks has fully explained the financial discrepancies. The studio wrote off the missing millions as production complications and never pursued a criminal investigation. Film industry accountants still reference War of the Worlds as the great unsolved budget mystery. Number 4. Tim Robbins improvised the entire character and Spielberg hated it. Tim Robbins was supposed to appear in the film for approximately 8 minutes of screen time with tightly scripted dialogue. Instead, he essentially hijacked his entire sequence through relentless improvisation that drove Spielberg to near madness. Robbins showed up to set having completely reimagined his character Ogilvy as a dangerous apocalyptic survivalist rather than the mild-mannered astronomer from the script. He'd grown an unkempt beard without permission, adopted a disturbing whisper-speaking pattern, and created bizarre physical tics. Spielberg was furious but fascinated. During the basement filming, Robbins improvised approximately 90% of his dialogue, ignoring the script almost entirely. He'd launch into rambling monologues about alien physiology, military response theories, and paranoid survival strategies that weren't in any script revision. Some takes lasted over 20 minutes of continuous improvisation. Tom Cruise was completely thrown off by Robbins's unpredictable performance and complained to Spielberg multiple times. The director faced an impossible choice: shut down Robbins' improvisation or embrace the genuinely unsettling performance emerging. Spielberg ultimately used about 40% of Robbins' improvised material in the final cut. The most disturbing basement moments were completely invented on set. Years later, Spielberg admitted he nearly fired Robbins 3 times, but couldn't deny the performance's psychological intensity. Robbins never apologized for his approach, claiming the character demanded authentic madness rather than scripted dialogue. Their working relationship remained permanently damaged. Number 3. The ending was reshot 7 times because test audiences hated it. Spielberg struggled with War of the Worlds ending more than any film in his career. The original ending showed Ray and Rachel arriving at the Boston townhouse to discover everyone dead, including Robbie. Ray stands amid corpses while Rachel goes into catatonic shock. The narrator explains that humanity survived, but these particular humans did not. It was devastating and absolutely faithful to H.G. Wells's original novel's bleak tone. Test audiences despised it. Paramount executives panicked after the first screening showed approval ratings in the 30% range, specifically because of the ending. Spielberg initially refused to change it, arguing that Hollywood's obsession with happy endings undermined serious themes. But studio pressure intensified. He reshot the ending 6 more times over 8 months. each version attempting different emotional resolutions. One version had only Rachel surviving. Another showed Ray dying heroically. A third implied the entire invasion was Rachel's trauma-induced hallucination. Each test screening showed marginally better but still disappointing results. Finally, Spielberg capitulated completely and filmed the ending you see in theaters. Robbie impossibly alive, the whole family reuniting, everyone surviving despite overwhelming evidence they shouldn't have. Spielberg later admitted in interviews that he considers War of the Worlds his greatest artistic compromise. The ending betrays everything the film built toward. It exists purely because Paramount demanded commercial viability over narrative integrity. Spielberg's original ending supposedly still exists in Paramount's vault, never publicly released. Number 2. Steven Spielberg filmed a secret alternate ending that's never been seen. Beyond the 7 reshot endings for test audiences, Spielberg filmed one additional secret ending that has never been shown publicly and may never be released. In August 2005, 3 weeks before the film's premiere, Spielberg quietly assembled Tom Cruise, Dakota Fanning, and a minimal crew for one final day of filming. He swore everyone to absolute secrecy and provided no script. According to people who were present, this ending lasted approximately 4 minutes and completely changed the film's meaning. Instead of ending with a family reunion, it jumped forward 10 years. We see Rachel as a young woman now living in a world permanently altered by the invasion. Humanity survived, but society never recovered. She works in a refugee camp helping orphaned children. There's a brief implication that Ray died years earlier from radiation poisoning. The ending was explicitly hopeful but realistically bleak, suggesting humanity's resilience comes through profound loss rather than miraculous salvation. Spielberg filmed this ending purely for himself, with no intention of using it theatrically. He later told a Vanity Fair reporter that he wanted one version that honored his original vision, even if audiences never saw it. The footage exists in a safety deposit box in Spielberg's personal archives. He's allegedly included provisions in his will that this alternate ending be released 50 years after his death, allowing future generations to see his intended conclusion without commercial pressure compromising it. Number 1. The entire movie is actually about Steven Spielberg's divorce.
Never let anybody tell you you can't do what you in your heart know you can. And the other thing is simply to...
Here's the truth nobody talks about, and Spielberg has never publicly confirmed. War of the Worlds isn't really about alien invasion. It's an elaborate metaphor for Spielberg's divorce from Amy Irving and his struggles with being an absent father. David Koepp wrote the screenplay during extensive conversations with Spielberg about his personal guilt and parental failures. Every element translates directly. Ray Ferrier represents Spielberg himself, a father disconnected from his children, unfamiliar with their lives, struggling to protect them during catastrophic circumstances beyond his control. The alien invasion represents divorce itself, the incomprehensible force that destroys family structures without warning or mercy. Ray's desperate journey to reunite his broken family mirrors Spielberg's own emotional journey, trying to repair relationships damaged by his career obsessions. The son, Robbie, literally running toward destruction against Ray's wishes, reflects Spielberg's real son, Max, rejecting his father's guidance. Rachel's selective mutism and trauma represent the psychological damage Spielberg believed his divorce inflicted on his children. The tripods towering over helpless humans symbolize how divorce makes parents feel powerless against forces destroying their families. Even the ending's controversial happiness represents Spielberg's desperate wish for reconciliation and healing that reality doesn't always provide. Multiple Spielberg biographers have confirmed that he conceived War of the Worlds during particularly difficult custody negotiations. The film's emotional core isn't science fiction. It's one father's guilt manifested as apocalyptic allegory, his personal catastrophe projected onto a global scale, his private pain transformed into spectacular destruction that audiences could witness without understanding. They were watching Spielberg's confession. There you have it. 20 weird facts about War of the Worlds that even Spielberg fans never knew. Which fact shocked you most? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more movie secrets. Until next time, keep watching the skies.